In 1978, deep in the quiet town of Fall River, Massachusetts, a psychiatric hospital shut its doors overnight. No reason, no warning. For decades it was forgotten, until a team of investigators broke the seal. What they found beneath the hospital was never meant to be seen. This is the story the government tried to erase. On a hill just outside Louisville, Kentucky, stands one of America's most infamous buildings, Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Once built to treat tuberculosis patients in the early 1900s, it quickly became a place of pain, despair, and eventually, death. Between 1910 and 1961, more than 6,000 people are said to have died within its cold concrete walls. Nurses, doctors, and patients all fell victim to the disease that had no cure at the time. The hospital was closed decades ago, but even today, locals refuse to walk near it after sunset. They say the screams of the dead still echo through the empty corridors. Documentary filmmaker Adam Cole had heard the stories for years. Ghost hunters, paranormal researchers, even local police officers, all claimed to have seen things inside Waverly Hills they couldn't explain. When Adam got permission to film inside the sanatorium for 3 nights, he thought it would be the perfect material for his next documentary. But from the moment he stepped inside, he realized that Waverly Hills was nothing like the abandoned places he had explored before. It wasn't just empty, it was alive with something unseen. The first thing he noticed was the smell, a faint mix of disinfectant and old metal, like a hospital that never truly died. His flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing long hallways lined with rusted beds and broken wheelchairs. The silence was thick, almost physical, and the air was so cold it made his breath visible. His cameraman joked nervously, "Feels like they just left yesterday." Adam didn't reply. Deep down, he felt as if the hospital itself was breathing, slowly, deeply, waiting. They set up their equipment in the old operating room, cameras, motion sensors, and digital recorders. The walls were still stained with time and something darker. Around midnight, Adam started recording his narration, describing the tragic history of the place. But as he spoke, one of the motion sensors lit up in the corner. There was no one there. The team froze. Then came a faint whisper through the recorder, a woman's voice, trembling, almost pleading, "Help me." The night shift always carried a strange silence, but that night felt heavier, like the air itself was pressing against Sarah's chest. The hospital, once full of life, was now eerily still. Only the sound of her footsteps echoed through the halls, followed by the faint hum of old fluorescent lights. She tried to focus on her work, checking patient records, adjusting IV drips, and refilling medication trays. But she couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching her. The security cameras had been down for 2 days, and the janitor refused to clean the old East Wing anymore. When she asked him why earlier that evening, he simply muttered, "You'll understand soon," and left before sunset. At around 1:48 a.m., while checking the oxygen tanks near Ward C, Sarah heard a soft knock coming from behind the locked door of the abandoned room. She froze. That ward had been sealed years ago after a fire incident that killed 3 patients and a nurse. Slowly, she leaned closer, listening. The knock came again, 3 slow taps, like someone trying to get attention. Her heart pounded. She whispered, "Is anyone there?" and placed her ear against the door. What she heard next made her step back in shock. It was a faint child's voice whispering, "It hurts. It hurts so much." She stumbled backward, nearly dropping her flashlight. The door creaked softly, even though it was locked with rusted chains. Suddenly, the hospital intercom system crackled to life, an old radio static echoing through every corridor. Through the noise, she heard an unfamiliar voice, faint but clear. "Room 209, he's still there." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Room 209 was inside Ward C, the same place where the fire had started. She ran back to the nurse's station and checked the old patient records. The last person registered in room 209 was a boy named Ethan Clark, age 9, pronounced dead in 1984. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the yellowed pages. The file included a photograph, a small boy with short hair and a cast on his left arm. His eyes looked lifeless, almost too real for an old photo. Just as she set the file down, every light in the corridor went out at once. Total darkness. Her flashlight flickered, then died. And in that darkness, she heard the same voice whisper right behind her ear. "Why did you leave me there?" Sarah screamed and turned around, but no one was there. Just the faint reflection of a small figure in the window glass, standing inside the locked Ward C. Her ID badge fell from her neck and slid across the floor, stopping at the door of the sealed ward. But Sarah's story didn't end that night. What she found the next morning would reveal something far darker than a haunting. The morning after Sarah's breakdown, the hospital administration launched an internal review. They wanted to understand how a trained nurse fainted during her shift in a supposedly empty section of the hospital. But when the maintenance team checked the security office, they discovered something no one could explain. The CCTV system, which had been inactive for 2 days, suddenly began recording again at exactly 1:46 a.m., the same time Sarah reported hearing the knocking sound. When the footage was reviewed, it revealed shadows moving behind the sealed doors of Ward C. There were no lights on, no power supply connected, and no access to that corridor. The video lasted for exactly 17 minutes. At first, the hallway appeared empty, except for the faint flicker of light. Then, a figure appeared, small, pale, and barely visible. It walked toward the camera, stopping only a few feet away. The timestamp on the footage froze for a few seconds, and then the camera went completely dark. When the image returned, the figure was gone, but written on the wall in black was a single sentence: "Why did you leave me?" The maintenance worker who reviewed the footage quit his job the same day and refused to speak about what he saw. Later that week, one of the hospital's IT technicians found a forgotten hard drive in the basement archive. It contained older recordings from the 1980s, black and white footage from the same Ward C. In one of the tapes dated August 12, 1984, a young boy appeared lying on a hospital bed, staring directly at the camera. There was no medical staff in the room, no movement except the boy's eyes. At the 3-minute mark, the screen distorted violently, and the boy began to scream silently. No audio, just a trembling image of his mouth open wide as if in pain. The label on the tape read, "Ethan Clark, room 209. When the police were notified, they confiscated the tapes and the CCTV footage for investigation. A statement from the local sheriff's office confirmed the material was under review for authenticity. However, a leak from one of the officers suggested something more disturbing, that the voice captured on the hospital's intercom system that night wasn't just static. When the audio was enhanced, a faint whisper could be heard repeating the words, "I never left." That same phrase appeared again in a maintenance report from 1992, written by a worker who later went missing. Every trace of those tapes has since disappeared, officially listed as archived evidence unavailable. But the deeper the investigators dug, the more they realized Ward C was hiding something far worse than a haunting. 2 weeks after the incident, a full investigation was launched under the supervision of Detective Michael Grant, a veteran officer known for his work on unexplained cases. The hospital temporarily shut down Ward C and sealed off the basement, where the old recordings had been found. Michael arrived early one morning with a forensic team, armed with UV lights, electromagnetic sensors, and body cameras. Their goal was to document everything scientifically, to prove once and for all whether the stories of the haunted ward were real or a psychological illusion. But from the moment they stepped inside, every piece of equipment began to malfunction. Batteries drained instantly, recorders glitched, and cold spots appeared randomly in the hallway. At 2:07 p.m., one of the forensic technicians, Lisa Raymond, reported hearing faint tapping sounds from inside room 209. Michael ordered the team to record the temperature and electromagnetic readings near the door. The readings spiked massively. The EMF sensors hit their maximum limit, similar to the electromagnetic pulse of high-voltage power lines. Then, From the intercom system, long disconnected, came a single sentence whispered in a child's voice. "It's still burning." The team froze in silence. Room 209 was the same room that caught fire in 1984, killing Ethan Clark. That night, Detective Michael reviewed all the footage from their body cameras. To his surprise, certain moments had vanished. Entire sections of the recordings were replaced with static or black screens, especially around the basement stairwell. In one corrupted file, a frame appeared for less than half a second. A figure standing behind Michael, small, motionless, with eyes glowing faintly white. No one on the team remembered seeing it in real time. Forensic analysts tried to enhance the image, but every attempt ended with the file self-deleting. The IT department later confirmed the footage had been overwritten by an unknown process. The final report from that day described multiple, unexplainable phenomena, including sudden temperature drops, spontaneous interference in electronic devices, and faint audio patterns resembling human whispers. But what caught Michael's attention most was a page added to the hospital's old blueprints. It showed a hidden access door beneath Ward C, leading to an underground section labeled Psychiatric Isolation Unit, Closed, 1979. No one in the hospital's current staff had ever heard of such a section. Michael decided the next step was to open it. What they would find beneath Ward C was never meant to be uncovered. 3 days later, the hospital's management reluctantly granted permission to unseal the hidden basement. Only Detective Michael, Lisa Raymond, and 2 maintenance workers were allowed to enter. The door, concealed behind layers of concrete, took nearly 5 hours to break through. As the final piece of the wall collapsed, a heavy wave of cold air rushed out, air that hadn't circulated for decades. Beyond it lay a narrow staircase spiraling down into total darkness. Each step echoed like a heartbeat, slow and rhythmic, as if the building itself were alive. Michael's flashlight flickered, revealing traces of rusted medical equipment and faded symbols etched into the walls. At the bottom of the staircase, they discovered a long corridor lined with patient rooms. Each door bore a number, but instead of names, they carried hand-carved words like Subject 11, No Light, and Keep Silent. Inside the first room, dusty journals lay scattered across the floor. Lisa picked one up and read aloud. Experiment halted. Subject showed severe psychotic reaction to auditory exposure. Voices persist even in sedation. Michael flipped through the remaining pages and realized they were part of a psychiatric research project from the late 1970s, led by Dr. Harold Brenner, a name that had been erased from all hospital records. Every entry mentioned the voice in the vents. Further inside, they found a rusted metal door marked Restricted, Level B. When they forced it open, the stench of decay was overwhelming. The room beyond contained half-burnt documents, broken restraints, and a single hospital bed bolted to the floor. On the far wall, someone had written a sentence in charcoal. They said the walls could listen. Lisa began to cry quietly. Michael noticed scratch marks leading from the bed to the ventilation shaft, deep grooves carved by human nails. Then, from inside the vent came the faint sound of breathing. The forensic instruments reacted again. Temperatures plummeted, and electromagnetic readings surged uncontrollably. Michael pointed his flashlight into the vent, and for a fraction of a second, a pale hand appeared before vanishing back into the dark. He shouted for the team to retreat, but before they could move, the door behind them slammed shut. The lights went out completely. Only the sound of that slow, rhythmic breathing remained, echoing through the corridor. Later, when emergency crews reopened the basement, they found Michael and Lisa unconscious near the stairs. The footage from their body cameras ended abruptly, with a single distorted whisper. Don't open it again. The truth had finally begun to surface, but what they awoke beneath the hospital was far from over. 2 weeks after the basement incident, both Detective Michael and Lisa Raymond were placed under medical observation at St. Mary's Hospital in Boston. They had no memory of what happened after the lights went out. Michael suffered from constant migraines and occasional auditory hallucinations, whispers that seemed to echo the same phrase over and over again. "Don't open it again." Lisa's condition was worse. Her eyes reacted violently to light, and she claimed she could see shapes moving through walls at night. A psychiatric evaluation suggested severe trauma, but the doctors couldn't explain the sudden electromagnetic burns found on both of their hands. The case gained national attention after a local news outlet leaked fragments of the body cam footage to the internet. Viewers claimed to hear faint cries and a woman's voice whispering names in the background. The video was later taken down by federal authorities, citing public safety concerns. Soon, online communities began investigating the hospital's past, uncovering old staff rosters and patient records dating back to 1974. Among them were reports of illegal experiments conducted by Dr. Harold Brenner, who was supposedly declared dead in 1981 after a fire destroyed his private laboratory. But now, his name appeared again in files hidden deep within the hospital archives. One of the retired nurses, Margaret Haynes, agreed to speak publicly for the first time. She revealed that Dr. Brenner was testing a controversial method of auditory conditioning, using sound frequencies to alter human perception. Several patients reportedly died during the trials, but the deaths were listed as suicides or cardiac failures. When shown a photo of the hidden basement, Margaret trembled and whispered, "That's where he kept them, the ones who could still hear." Her interview was broadcast only once before the network claimed technical issues and pulled the segment off air. The footage has never been re-released. Weeks later, Michael's condition deteriorated. He was found wandering near the old hospital grounds in the middle of the night, barefoot, and repeating a phrase over and over, "She's still down there." Lisa, who had been discharged by then, refused to speak to reporters and moved to an undisclosed location. In a follow-up investigation by the Massachusetts Department of Health, the basement was sealed permanently under federal order. However, the report mentions something strange. The night before it was sealed, motion sensors inside the building detected movement coming from below ground. No one was sent to investigate. The world thought the nightmare had ended, but the whispers never stopped. In December 2022, the Massachusetts State Police released a declassified portion of their investigation into the abandoned St. Augustine Psychiatric Hospital. The document, labeled Case File Number 0473B, contained 186 pages of reports, interviews, and forensic data. For the first time, it confirmed the existence of Dr. Harold Brenner's secret auditory experiments and the underground facility known as Level B. According to the files, Brenner's team conducted sound-based neurological conditioning on more than 30 patients without government approval. The project was funded privately through a now-defunct medical foundation. However, the files did not explain what became of the remaining patients or the true purpose behind the research. Among the appendices was a disturbing discovery: audio tapes recovered from the basement during the 2021 reopening. Tape number 7, it captured a male voice repeating the words, "The sound remembers." Another, labeled number 9C, contained nearly 5 minutes of silence, followed by a faint whisper resembling a female voice saying, "He never left." Forensic experts ruled out tampering or background interference. The recordings were authentic and originated from the sealed room. The analysis also revealed irregular frequency patterns, sound waves not matching any known mechanical or human source. In other words, the audio carried traces of something alive. The final report concluded that, while no physical threat remained, psychological and electromagnetic anomalies were unresolved. The property was transferred to federal custody and declared permanently restricted under Title 12 of the Public Health Safety Act. All access points were sealed with concrete, and the surrounding land was fenced off. Local authorities issued a public advisory warning citizens not to approach within 500 meters of the facility. Despite this, urban explorers have continued to sneak in over the years. Several videos appeared on YouTube showing flashes of light in the upper windows and faint humming sounds in the distance before being swiftly removed. In March 2023, an anonymous Reddit user uploaded a short clip allegedly recorded near the site. It showed a faint red glow emanating from beneath the ground, and a single line of text appeared on screen. Level B is awake. Within 24 hours, the account was deleted and the post disappeared. To this day, no one knows who uploaded it, or if it was even human. The official investigation has been closed, but locals still report hearing strange humming sounds near the sealed hospital during the night. As one resident said during an interview, "The building is quiet, but the air around it still whispers." What was buried beneath St. Augustine was never meant to be found, yet it listens still.